Well, good morning. The lectionary today gives us the reading John 6, 1 to 15. And of course, when I looked at it and realised it was the feeding of the 5,000, I started to wonder how I could talk to you about that rather than just in terms of it being an example of Eucharistic practice and communion, or indeed an example of the endless outpouring of God's love to us. And then I turned up in Blythe and thought, oh, here we are. We've got a food bank next door to our toolship project. So let's go in and see how they're doing.
I am Connie and I am proud to volunteer for Community Fund Friendship Blythe.
So Connie, how many people do you help here?
Now, in the last few weeks, we've been helping 70 to 100 desperate families around Blythe.
And where does all the food come from?
The food comes from Morrison's and Blythe. 80% come from Morrison's and Blythe, and then local shops, local people. I'm amazed how generous and kind they are.
So how did all this start, Connie? Was it just at the pandemic or was it beforehand?
No. A lovely man called Nev Craggs started this, I think, up to 3 years ago, helping families, vulnerable people in trouble with food, toiletries, clothes, and he goes further than that, helps them find jobs or helps them volunteer, helps them with mental health, all sorts of things. He's an amazing man.
Do you get anything out of it and the other volunteers get anything out of it?
Yeah, I think so. It's a great bunch of people. We all get on, we have a good laugh. We're all very passionate about it. Through Nev, he helps, and it's such a sense of helping. It just makes you feel good.
Your team just wave to everybody, and it's been a fantastic job. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Brief TED Talk on God's economy. Here we have our microwave popcorn. And off we go.
Jewish law and the Jewish economy was based on land, every family having an equal share, and anybody who lent or borrowed it was all forgiven after 7 years. But of course, in Jesus's time, that wasn't working very well. The scribes had been working out how to defraud people of their land, and the Romans had arrived and literally taken over and started to tax everybody. So the only way to get rich in those days was not through economic growth, but through taking it off people. Right the way through history, banks have lent money all the way through to the Industrial Revolution to expand economies through acquisition, and there's only so much grain in the ground and so much human labour that can be given, and it can only get to a certain size. To pay for the expansion, the banks take their interest. The people who've done the expansion, made the investment, take their profit. All the middlemen, the tax collectors and people like that, take their extra share. And the pot just gets smaller for the man on the ground. Once we're at the Industrial Revolution, the banks still lend money for growth, but that growth comes through science and technology. So it's a hope on science and technology staying ahead of the game. The evidence suggests that this economic growth through technology means that we could actually feed and house and ensure that everybody in the world had a reasonable standard of living. But of course, there is still greed, there is still people taking more than their fair share, there is still the 1% that own pretty much everything. And that means we still have problems. Now, crossing over the Sea of Galilee was often code for going to Gentile territory in the Bible. And Jesus clearly does cross over and then makes a bountiful gift to all the people who meet him there. And he still have 12 baskets of food left over for the 12 tribes of Israel. So everybody gets fed in this parable. So that's why I think there's a economic question to the feeding of the 5,000.
So thanks, Ted. Let's pray that your popcorn will always be plentiful.
So what a great bunch of people they are. And in our reading, you know, we see Jesus crossing Lake Galilee, being met by people who are away from any resources or support. They've got no food, they've got no water, and Jesus feeds them. And we've seen today that that can be a really practical exercise as well. So let's have a think about that as we start to come out of lockdown, as we start to think about our own society. How are we going to feed our flocks? How are we going to feed the people who are vulnerable in our society? God bless.